Hi, everyone. Welcome to the July meeting of the Climate Reality Project Oahu, Hawaii chapter. Oh, this says June 13th. Quickly change that to July 2nd. There we go. So here's our agenda. We're going to do some recap of recent updates, maybe a bit of talk story if people have some questions or comments on kind of what's happened in the past month. Then we'll transition into what's coming up. And then I have a little bit at the end for maybe learning something new. So the first thing that came to mind in terms of what our chapter has been up to has been the Our Climate Moment campaign. So members, climate reality leaders from the Maui chapter and our chapter met with the offices of Representative Ed Case, Senator Hirono, Senator Schatz, and I believe we're also still trying to have a meeting with the office of Representative Kahele. And this is to talk about the American Jobs Plan, talk about climate policy, and to show our Hawaii representatives some solidarity and support and get some transparency and understanding on what their priorities are. So that was a success. Wrapping up.
I wasn't. I couldn't go to those, but they sounded really awesome. Do you have? Were you at them? It looks like you were. Was any of their takeaways, or like kind of how it worked, or how receptive do you think it was, or the representatives?
It was an interesting experience. I thought it was a much friendlier, casual discussion than I was expecting. But what I found was that each of the offices we met with were very responsive to what we had to say about our concerns around climate and equity and environmental justice. And so it was a bit of preaching to the choir, where we
you at all of them?
I was at the I believe it was the Rep Ed Case and Senator Schatz meeting. But yeah, it was very good, and I recognized a couple folks, like here we see Paul Bernstein, who's from Citizens Climate Lobby. So it was also an opportunity to collaborate with other nonprofits in that climate space. So yeah, it was a great event, and I hope we can continue to hold these events. Yeah, and so then there is this event that Leon Geschwin shared with all of us, the Climate Emergency Workshop. I don't know too much because I wasn't in attendance, but Joshua, are you available to chat on your experience with this workshop? Oh, you're on mute. Okay, maybe he's still busy. Okay, moving on. And then also today, this month, was the Latin America Climate Reality Leadership Training. And so,
sorry.
Oh, hi, Joshua.
I'm so sorry. I had Leon's thing and I was able to present there at that. Yeah. And it went over, and then I had a meeting in Australia I was supposed to catch up with, and they just went on lockdown. So I was trying to communicate with them. And of course, it's their weekend after this. So they're like, we don't want to meet on Saturday. So you're like trying to do something with them. But I can give you updates on all the things you showed slides on. They were all things that we've been doing.
Okay, yeah, for sure. Well, go ahead, whatever you want to share about.
Well, I thought, Sebastian, you joined us with those. So I thought our fly-in worked really well. It was great to partner with Leslie, and we organized that together. Tomorrow morning, Leslie and I have a follow-up meeting where we're going to try to invite them in November for an in-person meeting when they talk about like democracy, human rights, climate justice. And so we're going to meet tomorrow morning to pick a date when it's in their home time. And we're going to try to do that to follow up. So that's the only update besides what you knew. But I thought all 3 meetings went well. I got great feedback from our good friend down there, 1, 2, 3, 4 below me. He said like he was just shocked at how well we communicated and how the representatives and senators connected with us, because they have a lot more of a, he said, more of a sort of antagonistic meetings when they have meetings with them. So he said it was really good, the relationships we built up. So I thought that was a good positive feedback on that front. But yeah, I'll meet with Leslie tomorrow, and then we'll try to figure out when they're on holiday or when they're back in district and schedule a meeting in November to follow up on that. And that's what I talked to you about earlier, Sebastian, of having that once a meeting in person to just keep that relationship strong.
For sure. Yeah, that sounds like a great idea.
And Leslie's real personable and very kind and does a great job. So it's fun to partner together, and it's great to have Maui and Oahu together that way. And then the next one, I just finished doing that with Leon, and that was wild. They were on 3 or 4 Zooms going at the same time. But I had teachers from Kauai and Hawaii Island that were both interested in presentations. It was interesting because they would be like, so what do you have? What can you do for me? I don't know what I need. And you just be like, sure. Well, I go, have you ever seen Inconvenient Truth? And how many students do you have? So I met with both of them and got past that initial, I don't know what I need. I'm teaching biology for the first time. And I said, well, here's my email and here's what we can do. And I also told her November 1st through 12th will be when the climate summit will take place. So if you want to do something before or after, that'd be a great time to be able to plug it in with the current event. So Kauai and Big Island teachers from 9th grade biology and after school programs both expressed interest in climate reality presentations. Those are my on that one. That I just finished at, what time is it? At 3:40 today. And then our last one was something that I think I just finished Sunday. The Latin America one. I just was a mentor for that and did the Latin America Climate Reality Training Program. And that was great. I didn't have anyone from Hawaii in our program. I had people from California and Mexico mainly were my mentees in that one, but I had around a dozen that were able to.
Do you think there was anybody based in Hawaii at the training?
I think Noel was doing it. He was another mentor in a different.
Yeah, I don't think he had any. I think he was mostly California.
Yeah, I think we both got California folks. So and I think the way they did really advertise it, it was a Latin America training. So yeah, there were that many California. All the California people I had in my program had connections to, had worked in Latin America or were from Latin America but living in California. So that's all I could share on that. But that was the global mentor role. So it seems like Noel likes doing that a lot as well. So at least we have a couple of us doing those trainings. And it's good in the sense that you see Gore do his in 10, the slide deck in 10, but also the full presentation and the updates. The crazy part is I was just in Germany, and the day I left Germany was the day just 20 kilometers over where everything got flooded. So I think Gore actually recorded that one early, because otherwise I'm sure he would have put that slide in on Saturday, Sunday, at the conclusion. So this one was a Saturday, Sunday program, two weekends. And that's all I've got, but I was trying to watch you doing that while I was trying to wrap up, and Australians were just so sad because they're in lockdown till the end of August. And it was
Oh.
supposed to just one limousine driver.
Mm.
And they had 5 deaths, and now the whole New South Wales is closed until
Wow.
end of August. So I was trying to be like, oh, I'm so sorry, but I gotta go. But yeah, it's really bad in Southeast Asia, of course, and the Pacific right now. So,
Mhm.
but great to be on with both of you. And
Mhm.
Did you want? And I was at the Maui strategic planning meeting.
oh,
Do you
great.
want to
Okay.
about that?
Yeah, for sure.
Well, yeah. There's been like kind of 2 sessions so far about that. So they've been just kind of going through a strategic plan, and kind of, there's a lot there to tackle. So they broke it up into a couple different sessions. So the first part was more focused on the mission and vision components, and then the last one was more on goal setting. So yeah, I felt like it was productive. I felt like we were able to get things fleshed out more, and yeah, I feel like it was just it's easy to kind of get bogged down in a lot of details and that type of work. But I felt like we were able to get everyone's input, but also kind of like also keep moving forward with it. So it's not a finalized document yet, but they have enough there that they're going to take it to their next general meeting now, and they can get more feedback from more of their members. The strategic planning meeting was just like a subgroup of people who are interested in working on it.
Okay. Yeah, that's great to know. And I've also been talking with some of the folks there and passing notes around, forming a chapter successfully. Yeah, that's great. So my next slide here is just kind of some up-to-date statistics of our chapter. So as of today, we have 18 trained climate reality leaders, 11 public members, making a total of 29 members, and 55 subscribers to the newsletter. I thought that was maybe a worthwhile number to share.
That's great.
And I have this slide just for like a catch-all. If you guys had other things to share with everyone, if things happened in the past month that you wanted to discuss. If not, we can move on.
I just thought I'd mention, I just got 2 emails today from Climate Reality. One was about a meet and greet. I guess you guys got this one too, with a meet and greet for the Pacific region of Climate Reality with the engagement director of engagement, Chris White. You had this email. It's saying they're trying to organize a meet and greet for the Pacific region, and so it was like a doodle poll to try and get the leadership from Hawaii on board, so we could select dates that could work for us. So it wasn't a lot of information, but I'm like in a leadership position with Maui, so I think that's why I was on the list. But,
no, that's great to know. I saw something show up in my inbox, but I haven't.
You probably got it. Yeah. But I don't really know what it'll be like, or if they do this periodically, or but it sounds helpful to get more information about kind of what the priorities are at the wider organizational level, and then I think they're going to try and get feedback from us about what we need and what's important to us.
Yeah, for sure.
And then I also got an email from Climate Reality saying, encouraging people to urge Congress to act big on climate with this current budget bill. So they have like a link where you can submit like a template letter to your representation about trying to get them to commit to clean, it was like clean electricity, clean energy and transportation incentives, a climate bank, and strong commitment to invest in disadvantaged communities. Like those are kind of the main asks that they put in there. So it's an easy thing that people can do. It takes like a minute to just, you can modify the letter if you want, but they have a fairly detailed form letter. So you just put in your information and it goes to your representatives.
Yeah, I'm always surprised to discover new resources that are like pre-curated by the climate reality folks. And so I actually have a couple I wanted to share at the end of the meeting. Yeah, so without further ado, I wanted to talk about upcoming events and opportunities. The most important one I wanted to talk about was elections for our chapter. So I'm gonna go through the different roles, and Joshua and Olivia, you both hold roles, so maybe you wanna talk a bit about your roles. But the 5 roles currently are chapter chair, education lead, policy lead, membership coordinator, and digital media coordinator or media manager. So chapter chair or co-chapter chair or chapter co-chair, a brief summary is that they oversee the strategic planning and management of the leadership team, and they also represent the chapter when working with other chapters or other nonprofits. Mostly it's the leadership role of the chapter, which, as some of you may know, Joshua and I share that responsibility. Second is membership coordinator. Olivia is our membership coordinator. Here I've wrote a brief summary, but Olivia, feel free to express kind of what you hope to accomplish in your role and kind of what you would think a successor would be inheriting in terms of responsibilities.
Yeah, so I mean, I haven't really done much of this yet, but I would envision that this position would really try to help engage new members and connect them to whatever they're interested in working on, and help them kind of get up to speed on what the organization's doing, and help them find meaningful ways to meaningful actions that they can be a part of. So I think a lot of that is communication, reaching out to them once they become members, going to events where you could potentially get more members, and then updating them, whether it's newsletters or social media, about upcoming opportunities, and also checking in with them to get feedback about what they want to see, like they want trainings or yeah. So I think kind of goes both ways, but kind of being a person to really help steward members into being more active participants.
Mm-hmm. Awesome, thank you. And then we have education lead. So in addition to being a co-chair, Joshua, you are our interim education lead. Here again, I wrote a bit of a blurb for folks to read, but Joshua, did you want to share a bit of kind of the idea?
I think the main thing was just sort of what I was doing today with Leon, and that's just looking for opportunities for us to be able to let people know about what Climate Reality Project's doing, and trying to find places for us to be able to make our presentations. So that's the role that I was trying to assist and to coordinate so far.
Yeah, I think identifying audiences for climate presentations is really at the heart of what we're trained to do as climate reality leaders. So I'm really glad that you and Leon are doing that work. Our 4th position is policy lead. Here I've written that the policy lead supports and advances local and national climate policy. And this is done by coordinating with our own members, non-members, perhaps members of other nonprofits that are also interested in the climate policy space. Ultimately, to give voice to all of us who are concerned about climate and want to see our governments taking action on that front. Fifth is our digital media manager. So this is someone who manages our website, our social media, other aspects of our online presence. This position is responsible for making sure that all of the resources that we produce or any of the outreach efforts we do online is accessible to all involved, to all potentially interested. And then last, I put this chapter leadership team member as this non-defined kind of to be determined position that, you know, if you're interested in participating in chapter leadership, but the 5 roles we introduced don't really fit your interest or don't really fit your strengths, that you can feel welcome to self-nominate yourself or nominate an associate to a role that you think would be appropriate. Potential roles include secretary, treasurer, education coordinator to support the education lead, policy advocate to support the policy lead, maybe an events planner to help with the membership coordinator. So it's really kind of a wild card to accommodate opportunities that aren't well defined as of yet.
Are we technically like supposed to have like the secretary and treasurer and those types of positions?
As far as I've been able to determine through speaking with the regional coordinator and other chapters, there's kind of a norm of having a secretary, treasurer, and kind of these more classical positions. But the only requirement is someone to be the chapter chair. And there's very specific responsibilities for the chair to fulfill in terms of reporting out to the rest of the organization. Otherwise, it's up to us to determine who the other officers, so to speak, are. Oh, we have Rachel. Aloha, Rachel.
Sebastian, sorry to be late, but thank you for allowing me to join.
Yeah, no, you're very welcome. So we were just talking about elections and how we are opening up these various roles for getting new chapter leadership. But just in case you haven't met the other people on the call, we have Joshua Cooper, who is my co-chair and our education lead, and Olivia Poblacian, who is our membership coordinator. If you guys want to introduce yourselves.
Yeah, I'm Olivia. I'm in Honolulu. I've been a Climate Reality member for or leader for about a year, and yeah.
Rachel, great to see you again.
Hello, Joshua Cooper. Great to see you as well. Good to meet you, Olivia.
You too.
Thank you.
Awesome. So just as a recap for Rachel and for all those attending asynchronously, we're going to host elections. There's 5 roles: the chair, education lead, policy lead, membership coordinator, and digital media manager. More specifics to come in a newsletter. So you don't necessarily need to be taking notes. And for any role that hasn't been defined yet, feel free to make that position known and your interest to participate known. And the plan is that starting from today, we'll give a week for nominations. And here I have a Google form where you can nominate friends, associates within the chapter, or yourself to the various positions. We'll give a couple days for the folks whose names came up to accept the candidacy for the position. And then we would like to invite the candidates to share a little bit about themselves and the position that they're running for. And then concluding with a 2-week voting period for everyone to cast their ballots. And just for everyone's reference, I want to share what the nomination ballot looks like. There we go. Everyone can see this? So again, it will have a summary of what the position is about and details pertaining to the responsibilities of that position, kind of some guideline requirements we'd like to see in whoever runs for that position. And then feel free to, in the short answer portion, to write whoever you're nominating or perhaps your own name. And then for only the last question, would you want to associate it with a little bit more specifics in terms of the role you'd like to run for, or who you'd like to run for a non-defined position. The forms are completely anonymous. I'll be the only one managing those results and then tallying it up as needed. So if anyone's concerned with anonymity or confidentiality, it'll be limited as much as possible. Yeah, and so going back to my slide deck. I wanted to open up the floor for any upcoming events or opportunities folks wanted to share. So if anyone's aware of any climate events in the next couple days or coming weeks, anything to give a heads up to the rest of our membership about?
What constitutes a climate event? I'm sorry, Josh, were you speaking?
Oh, go ahead, Rachel.
Oh, thank you. I'm curious what constitutes a climate event. Like, I guess how specific, I mean, the reason I'm asking is because I think about things that are like centering on Indigenous communities and talking about like their association with land and what we can learn from those. But I don't know if that's like a climate event, but I think it could be informational and informative for people who are wanting to do climate work.
No, for sure. I would honestly, I mean, I think climate anything is very interrelated with other, if not all, topics of importance. So I think if you think it would add value to our other climate reality leaders, I say go for it. Would love to know about it.
Okay, thank you. I think there's some stuff happening with Kavai Collective, but I'm not sure if it's, I think it's in the next couple of weeks at least. But I will look at it more closely and then share in the Slack if it makes sense too.
Okay, awesome. And anything that shows up in the Slack, I'll share it out in the newsletter. But if you guys want the most up-to-date information, get on the Slack. Okay, awesome. Thank you for that. Joshua, did you have something to add?
We're trying to be better. I know Sebastian is planning things in the future. So actually working with a bunch of NGOs in California, Washington State, and doing a big October 1st, 1 month before the UN Climate Summit in Glasgow. So that'll be October 1st. And they're looking at bringing in elected officials, Jerry Brown, different senators as well. So I just thought that would be a big thing for us to then be positive for us to learn what all the other states are doing on the coast.
Okay, awesome. Look forward to hearing more about that. Yeah, Olivia?
I attended the Citizens Climate Lobby Hawaii meeting yesterday, and that was my first time attending that, but it was really good because it was like their statewide chapter meeting, and they are doing a big push during the next 3 weeks to really urge Congress to include climate priorities in the reconciliation package. Specifically for them, carbon pricing is their big thing that they are pushing for. And so they, again, similar to what Climate Reality just did, is they have like a template you can fill out a letter, and it takes like up to 1 or 2 minutes. But they're really trying to push for people to do that during the next 3 weeks to urge their representatives to take bold action on climate, and for CCL and specifically on carbon pricing.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. If you don't mind sharing some links or a blurb about that, I'll be sure to pass it along. Great. So our last section here is learn something new. I have 3 things to share, 2 of which are from the Climate Reality Project website. So the first is kind of the fast facts of what do you need to know, and maybe as a climate advocate are kind of some facts you might want to have on board. So of course, the first is that climate change is a human-caused crisis. I sometimes forget that needs to be said. But for those who are struggling to convince others of that point, there's many resources on the climaterealityproject.org website that can maybe help you in an argument with your crazy uncle or something. But yeah, so there's a number of different facts. I will let you explore them on your own time. But if you ever just Google climaterealityproject.org, they have an amazing blog full of really interesting topics. Another post on that same blog is the 6 interactive tools to better understand the climate crisis. I thought this was really interesting because a couple months ago, we had guests from Citizens Climate Lobby speak about the On-Roads simulation tool. But this goes over a number of other tools, such as the Fossil Fuel Interactive tool, Climate Time Machine, which shows sea level rise, Yale Climate Opinion Maps. And anyway, amazing digital tools that are helping tracking climate impacts and support any climate education outreach efforts that you may want to embark upon. And then lastly is a podcast that was recently shared with me called Root Cause Remedies. And this is a podcast about I guess a number of different things, but primarily environmental justice in Hawaii. And they just did a podcast on a Molokai community that I've been working with and Rachel is familiar with. And so I would encourage you all to listen to that podcast. Here we go. Energy as a Pathway to Sovereignty. It's a very good listen. Doing amazing stuff in terms of community-based renewable energy planning and ownership, really getting around the idea that clean technology alone will solve our problems. It has to be a societal effort that makes justice a front and center component to getting green. But all of these podcasts are really, really interesting and bring a lot of light to issues that can often get sidelined. And it's all about stuff happening here in Hawaii. And so it's always good to have a cool new podcast. And that's everything I have for you guys. Mahalo nui for attending. As always, feel free to email me, text me, reply to the newsletter. Always happy to engage and have a discussion. And if you're ever thinking of a climate project and need support, our community is here to support you. And with that, I'll bring the meeting to a close and pause the recording.